Live, go live, go live. Perfect. Yay. All right. The live stream is active and I am so excited. Welcome, everybody. This is actually episode 3, not episode 4 of the Tiny But Mighty podcast. I'm going to be joined in just a minute here by Aiesha. I'm so excited for you to be able to meet her and find out more things that she has been up to. She has a little over 10 years in corporate and small business enterprise experience. She worked her way into HR, was originally an accountant, but was leading a team over marketing and finance departments while she was also helping with operations because, multiple hats always. She decided to get herself a little bit more skills as a leader and level up. And she took a course in neuro-linguistic programming because she found it to be really important for that leadership piece for building relationships. And pretty much the rest is history from there, is the way that it seems, because she enjoyed the course, she loved it, she connected to the material, and she found herself really coaching people on the other side of that conversation. So she then leveled up again and decided to become a certified motivational mapper. And she's got a wealth of knowledge in terms of communication, both professionally and personally. So I'm sure that she helps her clients in multitudes of ways in their lives. She's a certified relationship coach. She works with energy, and she is also the producer of her own show, Embrace Your Glow, due to be released this year. I'm so excited for you to be able to meet her. She's newer to the entrepreneurial space, just as I am. So the two of us are going to talk a little bit about that early entrance into being a small business owner today. And I'm going to bring her up right now.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. That was such an amazing intro. I loved it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and being amazing and needing that intro.
Thank you. Super appreciate you having me and taking the time to, spend some time with me today. I've been looking forward to it all. I've been telling everyone.
Oh, I'm so glad. Awesome. So let's get ourselves started and get to know you a little bit. Tell us about yourself. And yeah, we got that little bit of, going through the accounting and stuff like that. But are you passionate about what brings you to this point today?
So as you introduced, I did 10 years in corporate, working mainly in accounting, and I worked my way up into quite a senior level. And during that time is like when you're senior level, you're managing a lot of people. And so I decided that I needed to level up on my management skills because no one teaches you that. And that was how I dropped into the world of coaching. A friend of mine gave me a really great book, and I'm going to remember off the top of my head. It's called Manager as a Coach. I can't remember the author, but fabulous book. And I thought, you know what? I really need to take some of this information and actually put it into action. So that's how I ended up inquiring about the NLP. It's just was just such a great course for me and such a fantastic fit in terms of the type of manager and leader that I wanted to become and be at that time. And when I did the NLP, I did a lot of my own personal development in that. So I let go of a lot of the limiting beliefs that we have. And from there, I just used the techniques with my team, and I just found like leading and teaching just to be so much more effortless. And people were really, really, really responding to it. So I kind of started my coaching journey like undercover through training and helping. And that was back in 21. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to become a motivational mapper to really have the team gel. And from there onwards, I decided actually the corporate world isn't quite where I like to sit. I want to explore and come out the corporate world and see where that takes me. And originally, I started off with the idea of a podcast to just really talk about how people value themselves and the way they see themselves, because I found that when I was like coaching, a lot of us come to work with our own stuff happening in the background. And then we like go to a 9 to 5 job, and either you're really good at compartmentalizing, but what I found was that it wasn't an easy thing for people to compartmentalize. And I realized that there was a real need for people to be able to understand who they are before they went out into the world. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I actually believe that compartmentalization doesn't truly exist. And I think that psychology would support that it doesn't truly exist. When people say, bring your whole self to work, what they mean is that connection to those pieces. But corporate never really means that. I mean, never really. They don't really want the real you, because that's scary and it's messy and it can be hard to deal with. And so it can tend towards like the victim shaming side of, well, you work on your stuff, but while you're here, you only care about our stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge for me as a leader, to watch and to feel like it was bordering on inhumane for my people.
I can totally understand that. I mean, you know, we've got like a melting pot of people that go into business, into jobs. And like, you're one business, and then you've got employees who come from their own traditions, their own values, their own behaviors, and then you're asking them to like basically squeeze all of that out and then behave appropriately to what's happening in the company. And that's a melting pot right there. And you have to be a very extraordinary leader, I think, to be able to maneuver your way through that. But it can be quite exhausting, you know? Yeah.
So what was your favorite part about that course? Tell us a little bit more about the topic that really shifted you into that coaching.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had going on in the background was that I was never good enough. And so when I did the course, I let that belief go and realized that actually I'm plenty enough. Because one of the things that we do when we're not good enough is that as like leaders or managers, what we do with our team is we end up taking the fall for them, because we already got this unconscious bias happening in our unconscious mind, saying that you're not good enough. And then one of your team members is maybe not you know, doing the things that they need to be doing, and you take it on as like your responsibility, like, I'm not good enough, and now my team's not good enough, and it ends up being such a big pressure. And that actually was my catalyst, believe it or not. So I had a team member who I just didn't know how to manage them. They were just like my mirror, you know. I think they felt not good enough. So every time they got something wrong, it ended up they, you know, felt like it would be a good idea to go, oh, it's your fault, you didn't train me. And I'd be like, but I did train you. And, you know, but they were coming from their map of the world and their perspective. And so I realized like I was taking this home and just being so super upset. And it's really stressful as well to have to manage that behavior as well as like your own. So when I did the course, my pivotal thing was to let go of you're not good enough and you're plenty enough, and replaced it with that. And then I was able to go back to work and be like, okay, so this is not personal to me. Because I think that's what we do a lot of the time. Like, we go into work and we have this perspective of our own self, and then we take it so personally when others are like going through something. And that was my biggest pivotal moment, was letting it go and knowing that it was not personal to me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And you know, it's funny because it's really toxic to think that you have nothing to do with a team member who's not doing well, right? If someone were to say, well, that's not, you know, I have nothing to do. Well, that's not good leadership. But to take it all on yourself is not good either.
Yeah,
There's two polar points on that one.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because Adam Grant and Brené Brown and Simon Sinek and all of the thought leaders in industry usually are talking about the fact that you have to be able to have those healthy boundaries to know what point is actually something that you could have contributed to and what point is not. And the interesting part about starting to let go of that feeling of you have control over this individual is that when the that accusation and you know full well that you did train them,
Yeah.
it becomes so out of this world in terms of reality that you don't even respond to it emotionally because you're like, well, that's
Exactly.
ridiculous. That's not the way that happened. But I
Exactly.
understand that you're upset and you're feeling like I'm an easy target.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Agreed.
so when you were 7 years old, what did you want to be?
Oh my God. Actually, when I was 7 years old, I wanted to be a doctor. I was like so desperate to be a doctor.
Why?
It was just the thought of fixing things, and the fact that when you went to the doctors, you got better. And I wasn't I wasn't wanting to be like a general practitioner doctor. I mean, like, I wanted to do operations and like, really help people. So this has come from like such a young age. And it's kind of funny. I'm like not quite a body, operational doctor, but I'm a mind doctor almost kind of.
Yeah. It's amazing because as soon as you said that, I was like, well, you did accomplish that goal actually, because being in this space, because how many of our problems and even ailments that might otherwise be looked at as, ones that would be the space for an MD or a surgeon are actually because of our unconscious programming, are because of
Exactly.
mental health concerns and depression and
Yeah.
vitamins needed in the diet and
Agreed.
changes in atmosphere and nervous system. I mean, there's so much that contributes to it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You and I both have very similar whys because my why was cancer that drove me into a biochemistry
Okay.
degree.
Oh,
And
that's so interesting.
now all the way here, I know that cancer has more to do with the environment, more to do with the stressors, more to
Yeah.
do with the chemicals and all of the things that are going on than it does with anything that science could control from the standpoint of the individual. It needs to be a more holistic approach.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah. That's kind of like why I decided, working with the unconscious mind is the best. It's so holistic as well. And I do think that a lot of our, anxiety, depression, is developed because of what we've gone through, what the movie is, sat in there in our primal part of our brain, and just not being able to develop it or process it, I should say, into our little, like, I imagine this as, I have a room in my mind and there's all these books, and in all these books are all the things that I needed to process. But then the unconscious bit is the things my mind doesn't know how to process. And that's where the primal stuff is. So again, when you go to sleep, you take everything that you learned in that day, and then the mind will naturally process it into that library. So that's kind of like how I imagine it and explain it to others. But sometimes it's just really difficult to be able to process what's going on. And then maybe because there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of the same similar thing, that's happened like right at the beginning. But yeah.
I love that visual. And from the standpoint of working with a coach myself, who's actually a mutual connection.
Yes.
And from that connection, I feel like working with a coach, what I benefited from was being able to look at that basket of gobbledygook and be like, can you help me to categorize this? Because I don't know where it goes. And sometimes just being external to the situation is enough to be like, oh, this is easy. This is a writing implement. You can't recognize that for what it is. It looks a little different, but it's just, oh yeah, gosh, I guess you're right. And then you put it away and it feels all better.
So true. Honestly, it's so true. But yeah.
Awesome. So you just recently started the business, 2020, correct?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. So what brought you to finally starting the business piece of it and exiting corporate truly?
I mentioned before, I got to a place where I'd really done a lot within my career. And my biggest pivotal moment was doing my own motivational map. So what motivates me, what my energy, where I like to put my energy. And I realized that being in a job versus like my motivators were not being matched up at all. And I realized my top 3 motivators are having freedom, being able to give meaning or have meaning from the work that I do. And then the other one is to be able to build things. Now, where I was working, I had helped it get to that point. I'd done all, like, alongside other work colleagues, built the company. And I guess it got to a point for me where I was just doing the same thing every day and didn't really feel like I had the autonomy to move here or there anymore. So I decided that actually, based on my motivators, I wanted to go do something that was according to those things. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. So if somebody were to book a call with you and they
Yeah.
were to have a conversation with you from a coaching standpoint,
Okay.
would you be mapping out their motivational map? Would they be doing the homework before they walk in?
So how a motivational map works is really interesting. You get a questionnaire. It's got like 34 questions in. You really don't need to be thinking about the answers. So it's literally, do you like this or do you like this? And then there's 5 dots in the middle, and you can't choose a middle point. You can't be like in the middle of this. You've got to either choose one or the other. And oh no, is it 4 or 5? I can't remember now. But you can't basically be neutral. You either
No
are or
kidding.
you're not. And according to each dot, like there's an algorithm in the background that does like some scientific percentages. It's really fascinating. The man who created it, his name is James Sally. Anyways, so with the questionnaire, you do 34 questions. And then once you've done those, you then get a set of 10 questions to see how fulfilled you are in your motivator. And that's like the biggest part, because you could then know your motivators, but then how fulfilled are you? And that was the bit that really like brought my attention to the fact that, oh my goodness, like I've got these motivators, but I'm just not fulfilled whatsoever. And your motivations are really backed up by your value system too, which obviously your value system is based on your belief system. So, they're all very interlinked. But what all of it is energy, because your motivators, your values can change. And that's something that I really, when I go out and teach, and when I do go to do talks, I talk about the fact that you're not one person, like all the way through to when you die. Like you're going to have a different, you're going to change, and that's okay. That's okay to do, because you've got to be able to suit the environment that you're in at that point, and you're going to have things that maybe push you or challenge you. So you're going to have different values. You're never this. I just don't believe you're the same from 6 months to the next 6 months, because there's something that's gone on.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That was probably one of the most healing things for me to come across in my trauma recovery journey, was the idea of different parts of yourself, like, having conversations with little you or teenage you or, future you. And future you, we always sell future us down the river. We don't take them into account. We want present day us to be happy. And it sounds like this helps you to understand what will make present day you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what that looks like projected out and how that influences the rest of life, I think is really part of what you would then do in that conversation. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the hardest part of entrepreneurship for you think, so far?
Oh, just repeat that. I just cut out then.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to get my background keeps like trying to cover my face. So it looks like my lipstick is a mess, but it's not. It's just the background trying to eat my face, and my audio is getting messy. So what is the hardest part you would say so far about entrepreneurship?
So one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship is the amount of alone time you spend with yourself. And so believe it or not, like relationships in my motivators are not something that I chase. Actually, it's my lowest motivator.
Interesting.
Yeah. But there's a difference between having connections versus just going to work because your bunch of mates work there. And
Right.
so what I've missed is that connection with like-minded people where I can talk about certain things and mull it over like at the drop of a hat. That's what I miss. Is I found a lot of meaning in that, and I could just bounce my ideas off of somebody. So that's definitely something that I definitely miss, being able to just bounce ideas off of others. But I do have a counter to this, by the way.
Okay. No, that's great. I love it.
So one of the things that I have since our last conversation, which I know is like since I really spoke about this, it's really funny how the universe backs you, because it really does listen. All of a sudden I've started to meet people, and it's been on my own, off my own back, and I've kind of like found them. And when they say that you will find your tribe, my goodness, you do actually superly find your tribe. Like, it does happen. It's a time thing for sure. And I think that's one of the other things, is that there is this huge expectancy that you're going to be making 100,000 within 2 weeks of opening up your business, because we're just hit with so much on social media, like, make 10,000 pounds or dollars in the next month, follow my method, do this, do that. But what's that? It doesn't take 24 hours to make a baby. Well, it does on that bit, but actually grow the baby.
Right.
It takes 9 months for that transformation, for the baby to grow, and then the transition is the baby is born. So
Right.
one of the things that I will say is that in that beginning stage, be compassionate to yourself, and don't rush the relationship element. Like, you will find the people. I just wanted to say that out loud, because I've started to find my people. But like, if you told me like 2 months ago I'd be saying this, I would be like, no, I haven't found my people. I do not know what you're talking about.
I definitely understand. And as a verbal processor, that can be challenging for me. I find myself kind of, I'll even record a conversation, right, with myself,
Yeah.
not live, just on a video, to where I can watch back my own body language. I can listen to the words that I chose in the moment and
Yeah.
reflect on it and say, is that really what you meant? Or were you just kind of triggered and feeling
Yeah.
that? Okay, you got it out. Now you're not going to say it to that person. Good job. Don't do that. Now go forward in a more rational way. But where I might have had somebody else to bounce that off of and say, am I
Yes.
crazy, or did this come across this way? You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you do eventually, find it. It does happen. It's a slow burner, but I tell you what, the slow burn is so worth it when it comes to people, because you really find, because you're being an entrepreneur, you'll tend to find people who are either in two ways of you, like they're super or in awe of you because you have actually stepped out and have decided to do something for yourself, or you find the other entrepreneur that goes, I know how you're feeling, it's okay, I've been there. And that's like, I haven't found anyone else to be unsupportive or anything like that. I've only had that come back to me, which I feel very blessed, and to the universe, thank you so much, to have been able to find that group of people, mainly women actually, which has been beautiful. I have loved that as well, because I was in such a male dominated industry before, especially with accountancy, it is mainly men. So to be able to have support from women going through the same thing, or have gone through the same thing, I'm very, very grateful, for sure.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. So on the flip side of that, what's your favorite part so far?
Being able to spend time with my kids when I want and how I want. So that was another part to becoming an entrepreneur. I I was a single mum for 7 years, and the whole 7 years I worked, and either I was doing a volunteer role or climbing up the ladder, and you know, I hadn't spent a summer with my children apart from like maybe 1/2 weeks possibly, and it got to the point where my eldest is 12, my youngest is 9, and I just felt like they're going into this pivotal time of their life where they're changing into teenagers, and mum isn't as so important. And I thought, you know, they have been my absolute cheerleaders throughout this whole entire experience. And I felt like it was my turn to just give something. But even though I was working to support them, I felt like I needed to spend more time with them. So that was another reason why I decided, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, and so I can make my hours fit around the children. And you have to really set your boundaries as an entrepreneur, because you can get super sucked in. And you know, because you also, when you come out of the employment world versus entrepreneur world, I feel like there's a couple things that can happen. Either you're still stuck in that employment world, hourly, we work from 9 to 5 and that's it, or you realize that actually when you become an entrepreneur, you learn, or you decide what sacrifices you want to make. So I knew that no matter what happened, I was going to be there for my children when they wake up, take them to school, and that I would be there for when they finished. So my hours are between this and this, and I'm strict with that. And at the beginning, I wasn't. I really was like, oh no, I've got to do some more work here, or someone's relying on me. But then I was like, well, no, because actually my values, and this is also something I want to talk about, because when you set up a business, a lot of people do not realize that the business values are actually your values based on you. And my values are having fun, having freedom, having love. They're my top 3 values. And then my other 2 are around honesty and achievement. But they're not too, like, if I was thinking about them, they're not too granular as much as the freedom, fun, and love. And I thought, that's what my business is about. It's about helping people have freedom, have fun, and have love. And my kids are just all wrapped up in that too. So I had to do a lot of soul searching to realize, like, oh, there's a new version of me about to happen.
Mhm.
And that does take time. That takes time.
Well, I'm still working on it. I am definitely still
Mhm.
working on that because I could work from morning till night because I'm passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm also involved in a couple of extra projects because I like variety, just like you. So listening to you, I feel very connected to a lot of the things you're saying. I want to be able to help this nonprofit and this nonprofit, and this person needs a website. Great, I can do that for you. Okay, we'll do this part and this part.
Yeah.
And so I guess for me, learning to say no to those things is going to be part of my year in 2024 and kind of figure out, but they're naturally falling away, right?
Yeah.
The things that needed me 6 months ago are not going to be the things that need me today, and they might not be the things that need me 6 months from now. But
Yeah.
being able to stay rooted inside of that idea of I only work these hours. But for me, I'm also naturally second shift. I don't know. I've not met a lot of people that are not like that. Oh, I want to be part of the 5 a.m. club. I would love to be that person. I would love to be that. I'm just not naturally that way. My brain lights up at 10 o'clock at night and I am on fire with ideas until 1 o'clock in the
Wow.
morning.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me to shut that down.
Yeah, but that's the other thing, right? Because when you work in employment, the only hours that you're meant to work is between 9 and 5. And this is the other beautiful thing, and why I decided to become an entrepreneur, because I operate majorly in the morning. Like, I am a super buzzed out person, right? I think even when I was like out, when I was in my employed job, people would ask me, have you taken any special Skittles, Aiesha? And I would be like, no, this is just me. You know, and I really, all my energy is in the morning, and I love the morning. But not everyone operates that way.
Right.
And, you know, and I think like COVID really exacerbated that as well, because like you could work remotely, and some people could operate super late in the evenings, and some people operated super early in the mornings and got all their stuff done. But there, that in itself, like you come to life 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. I was watching a fabulous program on the song that was made by all of the group of the Americans back in the 1980s. Oh, what's that amazing song? Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie came up with it, and it's Africa. We are, huh?
We are the world.
We are the world. Right. So Lionel Richie is like in there, and he goes, come 10 o'clock, that's it, I'm alive, and I'm alive till like 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's how he operated, and that's fine. That's his time. I mean, personally, I'm never going to understand that because I'm such a morning person. But it is true. Like, you know, our inspiration doesn't come between one time and the next. It can come whenever. And that's something that I've definitely been way more open to during this whole entire time, and something that I've really had to work on changing, that whole 9 to 5 schedule. Yeah, for sure.
You have to deprogram yourself from years of,
yeah, absolutely.
So what's one side mission? If there was a cause or something that you would be able to support on the side from your work doing this, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. So this is such a great question, because I literally have about to be introduced to a lady who runs like all Red Cross on the base here. So I'm actually looking to support on like a mental health basis. Yeah, for sure. That is, and also the podcast is that's also a mission as well, to help people understand their own minds and where it comes from and why. And yeah, there's like a whole plethora of people with fantastic backgrounds, academic, non-academic, all telling their story and where they came from and how they did it. And, you know, and then we've got some real good sciencey things in there about how the mind works. So the podcast is also a really beautiful mission for me, to help others, you know, succeed and let go of the trauma. That's going on in the background there. Yeah.
And that's healing for the world, because that's the kind of stuff that pays dividends to all kinds of relationships. And when that comes out, please let me know, because I'll link it to this episode so that we can kind of cross-pollinate all of those things.
Yeah.
I love that. And so February being Black History Month, I do want to make sure that I'm taking a quick pit stop. You talked about the Red Cross. The scientist who actually developed the methods to be able to create long-term storage for red blood cells for blood collection was a Black scientist, actually. It doesn't get talked about enough. And I definitely, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, read that. It's such a brilliant conversation. And the wildest thing is the racism on the other side, where they said, okay, but if it was donated by a Black person, it has to go to this bank. And if it was donated by anybody else, it goes to this bank. And for a while, they had segregated blood donations, even though he had proved, and so many other scientists had proved, these are the same and they're just as life-saving. This is wild. And now we see all of those methods being implemented for the Red Cross, and there's no longer that segregation of the blood and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually my next thing after this is going to perform. I sing on like the sidelines, and it's for Black History Month. So I'm off to go and sing. Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. If you could change anything about setting up a business or operating one, I give you a magic wand and you can just change it. You don't have to go through any of the red tape of the government or anything else like that. What would it be? What would you change?
Oh, that's a very good question. What would I change? You know, what really comes to mind are these false promises that you see on social media.
Yeah. Holding people accountable to them.
Just, yeah, like prove to me that you did that in 1 month without 10 years worth of trial and tribulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's something I would love to see. And also with a huge injection of money.
Yeah, to be able to buy all of those ads to tell all of the people about the wonderful things you did in 1 month, if you actually did those in 1 month, if that's actually your real name.
That's exactly it. And like, that's one thing that I'm always going to be very honest about is like, this took me this many years, but I've condensed it down for you. You'll have it as a, you know what, you'll have it as a condensed version. So where it took me 5, it could take you 3. That's what we're meant to do as humans, but not say, oh, by the way, you'll get 10,000, whatever. And it's always this magic 10,000 as well. You'll get 10,000 a month if you do this, 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 and follow my program. But there's a lot that comes into that because each person operates very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, if there was a magic wand, it would be to get rid of that sort of advertising.
I love it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Those are the people I like to call snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
It was a lot of it in the pandemic. Oh my goodness. Like the things that popped up that I saw that were like microfiber cloths that were supposed to kill COVID and all kinds of other things that are,
Wow.
oh gosh, guys, please stop hurting people for your profit.
I know, right?
It does hurt for your profit, right? To say that we could get you 10,000 followers, but they had a different organic experience. They have a different
Okay.
network. And, think about that person, even if they didn't have a lot of money. Maybe they did do 10,000 in a month, but they had a whole bunch of people who are their friends who are already influencers who shared their stuff. And that's how their network built that fast. It's going to be completely, and most of the people they're selling that to don't have that big network. So
Yeah. Totally
very
agree.
predatory. Okay. What advice would you give somebody who's just starting out?
Don't get so consumed by what you see on social media.
Yeah.
Like, that's my biggest advice. Just don't get so consumed with it. Oh my goodness. It's not just like the oh, you'll get this if you do this. It's the do it this way. No, do it that way. Oh, you're doing it wrong. Oh, you should follow my way. And it's like,
Yep.
you know, I might not have a degree in business administration or, business degree. I mean, I am an accountant anyways. So I kind of feel like with accountancy, I can sort of see the risk in things. So I'm very lucky, but I feel that anyways. But I just think about a person who maybe doesn't have too much and invests in that, and it doesn't take them any, and it like I just feel like it's not right. Just don't get consumed by social media. And the other thing is like, I think people can also portray a lifestyle that's not also 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just getting a little sliver of what their day-to-day is. And if you're trying to make your whole life look like their best sliver, yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you would want, if there's one thing that a future customer maybe watching this would take away about you, what would it be?
What would it be about me? Oh, I really just genuinely, I'm so involved in this self-love movement because there is a self-love crisis out there, and the statistics prove that. And what I want to do is, I've gone through my own trauma. I've gone through quite a lot, actually. I mean, 7 years being a single mum, that's enough, and its stories there. But I have just such a mission, and want to help people, especially women, between the ages of 35 and 45, because it can be a tricky time as well at that stage, because you kind of just come out your 20s. I think you feel like, life is kind of different when you get into your 30s, and there can be quite big transformations and transitioning, I think, around this age, and a lot throughout the older ages as well. But for me, that's who I really like to work with, and that I'm just here to holistically help you. I'm not here to like shove science and, oh, you should be doing this because of this. Like, my sole purpose is to help you find that solution, so yeah, that's really me in a nutshell.
I love that. It sounds like you're not trying to shove them into a box. And should is such a shaming term, and we use it so much in our society. But
Yes,
you want them to connect to themselves so that they can find their authentic path.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's taken me a long time to find my authentic self. And I just that's what I want to help others do, and just motivate them to love themselves some more. And like, I give you a crazy statistic: 62% of American women have reported that they have negative thoughts about themselves.
Oh, that
That's a
tracks. Yeah.
that's a huge statistic.
Yeah.
And and it goes on and on and on. But one of the things that I have also found is that when you do take a minute, take a step back, and go, right, I want to know who I am, what I stand for, what my values are, which I believe is all part of the self-love movement. 75% of people have reported that they have had outcomes that were far beyond what they believed would, become. If you understand do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just had such positive outcomes, with going back on understanding who they are, building that self-awareness, why they operate the way that they do, why they have those negative thoughts. Yeah, that's my mission in life.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Self-talk is definitely something that you hear a lot about. How Women Rise is a book. It's a companion book to What Got You Here Won't Get You There,
Okay.
written by the person who wrote that and somebody else, but it's specifically for women in leadership. And one of the things they really focus on inside of that is the negative self-talk, and how women in leadership will have much more of a struggle with imposter syndrome. And I don't particularly like imposter syndrome as a phrase, because I think it's very victim shaming. It
Yeah.
tells that individual that when they feel like an imposter, it's a problem within themselves. But society tells them that they're not good enough. Society tells them that they need more makeup and and this and this and this. And consumerism and capitalism, I think, and patriarchy really drive a lot of those things for
Yeah.
women who are hearing those messages all day long. I love the idea that connecting to their values and being able to disconnect themselves from what that messaging is and say, okay, well, those things, whatever, they're trying to sell me something. But at my core, look at these things that I value, and that makes me such a special human being. So that
Yeah.
makes sense that you can then feel better about yourself and what you could potentially contribute.
And I think as well, like, when you work out your values, something magical happens. You suddenly have like an aha moment. Oh my goodness, like, no wonder why things aren't working the way that they're meant to be working, or like why I'm just not feeling this sense of happiness. Because I feel like once you work out your values, all of a sudden your purpose comes to life. And by the way, I don't believe in one purpose. I believe that purpose is many. And that's the other thing that I feel needs to be like kicked out of the forums, that, oh, find your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's many purposes in the world. I just want to say this, that you will have many purposes in your life. And there isn't this one big magic purpose that happens. It's something it's something that is multiple. And I think that's something that we really need to iterate to people, is like, let go of this notion that there's one big magic purpose, and it's going to happen with one big magic wand, and you're going to fix whatever it is with your purpose. And I think once you say there isn't one big purpose, there's multiple purposes of you being on this planet. You were chosen out of 9 billion sperm that's made, and you were like super special. That in itself is a purpose. You were meant to be on this earth. So yeah, that's probably another thing. So once you find out your values, you realize that actually I can have many purposes, and you can also align yourself to, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Just pause. That's okay. No worries. I can edit this out. Take a pause.
It's just my daughter. She's forgotten that I'm doing a podcast.
No worries.
Okay.
No, I love that. And it's funny because I had it, I wonder if I still have it up on my wall. I don't have it up on my wall anymore. I had a quote from the end of Neil deGrasse Tyson had written a book called The Starry Messenger. And one of the quotes that it closes it with is from Horace Mann. Be afraid to die until you have achieved something to contribute to humanity. And that's paraphrased. It's definitely not like all the way there. But I mean, more or less, don't stop until you're proud. Don't stop until you've done something that aligned with your values, that shook up the system. Yeah. And I that's really what you're talking about. I love that.
And it can be multiple things,
Yep.
I mean, even like having kids and bringing them up to respect and have love for humanity. That's leaving something behind. That's going to be an impact. It's going to be impactful for the world, because you're then instilling that in them.
Yeah.
That's a purpose too. So I just think values are like the number one thing that I always start with when clients come to me is, have you done your values? Oh, well, I think I did them. I think I know them actually. But what happens is we're so drowned out by the TV that we watch, the workplace that we have, all the things that you see around you, the radio, even the music can, help you decide what values you want to take on. So that's one thing that I like to do is, right, okay, let's get you back to knowing you and listening to your inner voice versus what mum said or what dad said or what the brother said, or what Uncle George said. That's another one.
Yeah, that inner critic that can really hold people back, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you hope to expand? What's your vision for the future of what this looks like? Would you want employees someday? Would you want to coach other people to coach other people?
So my main objective is really, I want to actually go out and be a speaker, motivational speaker, and teach people from a stage, right? But what I essentially can visualize, what I want is to have a group of coaches, because when you go to a motivational speaker, right? Say, for instance, like say Tony Robbins, for instance, you are going to get people that take that and it resonates with them and they're able to move with it and keep it going for a length of time afterwards. But then you're going to get people who'll get fired up in that week, but then a week later it's disappeared. And that's usually because they're deep, they're whatever's going on in the background needs that extra bit of help. So what I want to do is create a business model where there's other coaches that look after these people, so not only do they come and they get a breakthrough whilst they're sat in the audience, but then they get that support afterwards. And that's basically what I'd love to do. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Accountability partners basically on the other side.
Yeah. So they've got someone there to hold their hand, and it's just part of you know, because I really feel like a year is enough for somebody to make real incredible changes in their lives. Like, yeah, I think a good solid year with someone, fantastic. And then they go out into the world and take the learnings. And then if they need you some more, that's even better for them. But a good solid year, I think that would be awesome to have that group of coaches around to be able to help.
Oh, I love that. So how could somebody reach out to you to be able to work with you? Do you book one-on-one still? Are you open to those things?
Yeah, I book one-on-ones. I actually advertise on lifecoach.com. So I'll like drop that in. And yeah, I mean, you can also like message me on social media. I'm on social media. I'm there. And I'm in the middle of setting up a website. That is something, you know, we're in the learning phase in the first year of business. And when you're creative and you want to go out and help, like those things are just, oh, I need to get that done. It's on the checklist. I will get it done. But yeah, lifecoach.com is like where you can find me. Yeah.
Perfect. So I will make sure that I'm linking those socials here as well, wherever you're viewing this. And then you'll be able to send a DM or anything else like that. And then if you have events and stuff like that, we'll try and find ways you'll be able to see that on the social media for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to talk about?
You know, I think that is everything. Just one more thing I think would be really good is to, I think I already said the word compassion, but in that first year, just take a breather and know that it's a learning year. And you're going to get learning years probably all the time, for sure. But in that first year in particular, just take your time and don't get so wound up by not making any money. The money will come. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself is make sure that, you know, you let go of your limiting beliefs. That's a big thing, because running your own business will like suddenly you're like faced with, oh, the actual mirror, which is yourself, and let go of the limiting beliefs and be compassionate with yourself. And you will find your tribe, and just keep learning your trade and going out and just speaking and start to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I really appreciate you so much for being able to join me today and sharing all of your wisdom. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Absolutely. Just a pleasure. Well, we will talk again soon for sure. And I will link all of your socials down below. And thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Good luck with the performance tonight.
Yes, I'm about to go now.
Perfect. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I am so excited for that conversation. I hope that you loved Aiesha as much as I loved talking to her. I'll make sure that all of her stuff ends up down in the socials. If you would like to continue to support this podcast, make sure that you are liking this wherever you are, subscribing to whichever channel this is on. This is going to be on our YouTube once it's edited, and we'll have shorts that'll come out on the other side. If you'd like to contribute to the work that we're doing and getting this StreamYard platform up to its full glory at the premium level, there is a donation spot in our link tree in our bio, and I would really appreciate you helping us to help small businesses as always. Thank you so much, and we will see you all soon.